Well, here now are Danny Rackman, who was a torpedo man on HMS Formidable in the Pacific during the Second World War. Also with us, Yuichiro Nakajima, whose father, Toyotaro Nakajima, was a kamikaze pilot who survived the conflict. What was it like to face a kamikaze attack, Danny?
Well, you didn't actually face them unless you were a gunner outside on the weather decks. You were aboard the ship, you were in your place of action, your action station, which could be anywhere in the ship. And suddenly you heard the pipe that kamikazes were in the area. And the next thing you knew, the guns opened up and they were firing to shoot the kamikazes or hit them near enough to blow them off course. And then suddenly a big bang and they hit the ship.
What did you imagine the pilot of such a plane was like?
Well, you couldn't imagine it. You could understand what they were doing. They were fanatics. And, you know, that's all there was to it. You couldn't understand, or I couldn't, as an ordinary person. They just had the guts to do it.
Would you say your father was a fanatic?
I wouldn't say so. I think he had very little choice. Japan was entering a desperate phase in the war. It was clearly obvious to those in command that the situation wasn't favorable. So as a military tactic, I think it was the wrong one to take, but they took the decision and educate their men in the way that they wanted to, so that they could justify these suicide missions as a valid means of attack.
You better just explain how it was that your father, as a kamikaze pilot, survived the war.
Well, he had orders. He had been drafted from university. He had orders to prepare his aircraft, wait for command to take off with his squadron on the tarmac. And the base commander, in the meantime, sent up a reconnaissance mission to find out where exactly the American fleet had come to in relation to Tokyo Bay. This aircraft had a faulty radio, but the commander had no other choice because there was no other aircraft to send. So he told the engineer to fix the radio on board. Obviously, the radio couldn't be fixed because neither radio communication came back, nor the aircraft itself. It was found shot down after a few days afterwards. But as a result, my father's commander couldn't issue an order for my father to fly, which is how he found out that he wasn't going to go on this mission.
They were young men.
They were young men.
Executing a desperate tactic in extreme circumstances.
Of course, Japan by then knew that they were losing the war, and they began to get more and more desperate, and those are the sort of things that were happening in greater numbers. Some of the planes, the kamikaze planes, had a job to fly, but once they got off, they could easily hit the ship if they weren't blown off course or shot down before they got to it.
Once you come to that realization, though, that these were just young men called up to fly these planes, a country in desperate circumstances, and according to some of those letters we saw there, these men thought they were dying for their country.
Their country.
Does it make you feel differently about them?
Not me personally.
Why not?
No, I just couldn't understand how they could do it. I mean, the same thing's happening today with these children. They're dressing up and making them into bombs, and they're walking into buildings in the Middle East. That's the sort of thing that they were doing. Now, how did those children get to be like that? They know that they're a bomb, and they know that they're going to be detonated and go off.
These were extreme circumstances. You must have thought about this quite a bit.
Yeah.
How do you answer a question like that, transferring it to Japan?
Well, I guess desperate situations called for desperate measures, and I am in no way justifying what the Imperial Army or Navy
you said you thought it was completely wrong. You've said that.
Yeah.
But then that raises the question of whether it's appropriate that these last letters from these kamikaze pilots do have this status on the UNESCO register, doesn't it?
Well, I think they represent the outpouring of humanity by these pilots who knew their fate. In the next day, 2 or 3 days' time, they would be perishing in sea. So, I think it's a great record of, and in no way, as you said, it's not a glorification of the war effort at all. It's more a record of what they felt in the last days of their lives, their love for their family, their belief that unless they did this, terrible things may happen to those remaining in Japan. And therefore, this was their mission. However wrong that mission might be, this is what they have been taught to believe in. And they were there, in many cases, without any choice to carry out the task at hand.
Thank you both very much. Thank you.